Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right? Oh! The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa.
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week, but until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Matt Verderame sitting in for Patrick Allen, who of course remains on paternity leave as he hangs out with his son Rory and his wife. So good for him. He is getting away from the doldrums of the off season, but in the meantime, we have plenty to get to here on Thursday, June 20th, a month and a day away from when the Chiefs open up training camp in St. Joe, Missouri. Not a lot has changed in the last week with the Chiefs. Thankfully, not all that much in the news, except for Isaiah Buggs, who can't stop being in the news. But outside of that, that ugliness, not a whole heck of a lot. Nobody's been signed. Nobody's been extended. Excuse me while I fix the tag in the back of my sweatshirt. It's been what it should be this time of year, which is status quo. And there's nothing wrong with that. So the majority of the show is going to be me taking any questions you guys have. But otherwise, we're going to just lead off a little bit here before I take questions. But just look, the topic du jour right now is the three-peat. Can they do it? Can they do something that nobody has ever done in the Super Bowl era? There have only been 2 teams that have ever won 3 championships in NFL history in a row. The Packers did it twice, from 29 through 31 and from 65 through 67. The last 2 being the first 2 Super Bowls. And they won the last NFC title game that was, or NFL title game that wasn't a Super Bowl. This is something that is historic in every way. If they can do it, they etch themselves into history as perhaps the greatest team of all time. I think there's a very strong case to be made for that. Look, to win 3 in a row in this day and age is bonkers. New England couldn't do it. New England went to 3 in a row, but to actually in 51 through 53. But to win 3 in a row is almost impossible. I mean, look, so this Super Bowl coming up is going to be Super Bowl 59, right? So we've had 58 Super Bowls. There have been 8 teams that have gone back-to-back. 8. And most of them came in the first 15 years of the Super Bowl's existence. Okay. Packers 1 and 2. Dolphins 7 and 8. Steelers did it twice. 9 and 10, 13 and 14. The Niners then did it next. They won 23 and 24. Cowboys did it Super Bowls 26, 27. And then the Broncos did it late 90s, 32 and 33. And then, of course, the Pats did it in 30, 38 and 39. It's hard. It's really hard. It is almost impossible to win 2 in a row. And Rob, thank you for the super chat. My man says, Matt, the rings are flawless. I love the shade thrown at Miami. It is hilarious. They cared so little about Miami, they just made them a 7 seed instead of a 6 seed. That cracks me up. That's both horrifically done by Jostins and also absolutely hysterical. So yeah, the rings, what the hell? I'll take one. I mean, if they'd like to give me one, I'll take one. I'll take it with an error. Look, to the three-peat, okay? They're a team, the Chiefs, obviously. They're a team that, when you look at them, they've got as good of a shot as anybody. They're loaded. You could argue they're better than a year ago on paper. I mean, with Snead being gone, certainly it's hard to make that argument defensively, although I still think it's very good defense. Offensively, they're better on paper. Snead is really the only guy they've lost off this team that I would consider to be a major loss. And they have another first-team All-Pro corner sitting there. You never know how a season's going to shake out. Injuries happen. Production fall-off happens. Bad luck happens. This team is about as prepared, though, I think, as you can possibly be. Now, the offseason's been a crap show away from football. But in terms of the football, I think we all feel like the draft went well, free agency went well. I don't know that in terms of the actual football itself that you'd feel like much went wrong this offseason. This is a team that is dominant and has been dominant for a long time. And they've got the best quarterback in the world. That alone, in the day and age of quarterbacks being so important, it gives them not only a chance, it gives them a great chance, it gives them a leg up. I'm writing a piece that won't be out for quite some time, but it's about this topic. And for this piece, I'm talking to great players who had chances to three-peat. And I'll tell you, there's a genuine belief that, they can do it because of who the quarterback is and who the coach is. It's really hard. I mean, nobody's sitting there saying, oh, yeah, I'll waltz in and do it. But they're set up. I mean, when you look at the 8 teams that had a chance to do it and didn't, a couple of them really did not have much of a chance. The Broncos lost Elway. The Packers lost Lombardi. Those teams were not three-peating. Okay? The Steelers by 1980 were a very old team. They won in 79, despite probably not being the best team that year, but they kind of pulled it out of the fire. I think the teams that had the best shots were the 90-49. That team should have three-peated. If there's any team that should have done it, it was them and probably the 94 Cowboys. Those were probably the two. You could argue the 74 Dolphins. They were a great team. I know you say, well, the 05, the only thing about the 05 Pats is that defense, which was kind of the driving force for that early dynasty. They were getting long in the tooth. Guys like Bruschi and Vrabel and McGinnis. No, I shouldn't say Vrabel, not as much Vrabel, but Bruschi, Ty Law, he was gone at that point. McGinnis, that team was older. I think the teams that had the best shot were the 74 Dolphins, the 99ers, and the 94 Cowboys. If you go through and you look at those teams, the 74 Dolphins went back to the playoffs. They won the AFC East again. They played the Raiders in a game that Sports Illustrated, my magazine, dubbed Super Bowl 8.5 because everybody assumes whoever won that game is going to win the Super Bowl. And if you're a student of history or maybe you were old enough to remember that game, that was the famous Sea of Hands game where the Dolphins are up 26-21 late in the game, last 40 seconds, and Ken Stabler, the Raiders quarterback, is falling down and tries to basically just heave a prayer into the end zone, the Oakland Coliseum, and Clarence Davis, the Raiders running back, catches it between about 3 Dolphins, thus the Sea of Hands, and they win that game. The 94 Cowboys lose Eric Williams, their right tackle. They're very beat up. Jimmy Johnson, famously, is no longer the coach after winning back-to-back Super Bowls because he and Jerry can't get along. And that team kind of fought its way back to the NFC title game. They played the Niners in Candlestick. They got down early by 21 points. They came back. They couldn't come all the way back. They ended up losing that game. And then the 99ers, who are the team, the 1990 49ers, I should say. Otherwise, it sounds like I'm rambling off a year. That team, to me, is the team that should have done it. That's the team that you look at and go, they should have. They won in 88. They won in 89. They were incredible in 89. They went 14-2. They weren't even touched in the playoffs. One of the most dominant runs of all time. And in 1990, they go back to the playoffs as a 14-2 number 1 seed. Montana's the MVP. They roll to the NFC title game. They blew out Washington. It wasn't even close. And they play a Giants team with a backup quarterback in Jeff Hostetler. And they lose because they give up 5 field goals. They lose 15-13. and they lose their game really because Montana gets knocked out late. They're trying to kill the clock. Roger Craig fumbles, and then the Giants were able to turn that into a victory. But that team, and if they had played the Bills, it would have annihilated Buffalo. With all due respect to a great Buffalo team, they would have killed Buffalo. Okay. But they didn't do, and that kind of illustrates the point that I'm trying to drive at here. It's really hard because of all the factors that are seen and unseen. Whether or not it's because of money and contractual stuff and guys grumbling because they're not getting paid enough, or guys want an extension, or guys want a bigger role because, hey, man, I've been here for 2 years and we won the championship twice and I deserve more credit. Whether it's off-field stuff, which the Chiefs have had more than their fair share of this offseason. Stuff that is going to be a problem this year because there's a real chance that Rashee Rice misses a good amount of time on a suspension. We'll see how that shakes out, but it's obviously possible. Those types of things, along with just, hey, it's the NFL. It is bad. Bad luck happens, man. Bounces don't go your way. Guys get hurt. Guys get beat up. Maybe they played through it like Kelsey last year, but they're clearly not 100%. And then, hey, sometimes you just don't get the break. I mean, let's call it what it is. Last year in the Super Bowl, okay, the Chiefs got extremely lucky that Tommy Townsend's punt hit a guy in the Niners. I'm not saying they didn't deserve to win the game. They did deserve to win the game, but they were fortunate. They were fortunate. There's no way around that. Sometimes it's the breaks of the game, man. It really, it comes down to just millimeters. I firmly believe the better you are, the more breaks you get because you force that other team to have to play perfect. And it's really, really damn hard to play perfect. And yet they're sitting here trying to win a third straight Super Bowl, trying to do something nobody's ever done. And if you look at sports books around the country, and a lot of them, they're co-favorites to go win the Super Bowl with San Francisco. And San Francisco is the co-favorite because they're playing a weaker conference. So you'd be foolish to sit there and go, yeah, they can't. Of course they can do it. Of course. I mean, my God, at this point, would you take anybody else over them? But that doesn't mean it's easy. And it doesn't mean it's some given because it's not. It is extremely difficult. There's a reason we're going into Super Bowl 59 and nobody's won 3 of these bad boys in a row. So that's where I sit on it. I think it is very possible they do it again. If you said to me, would you take the Chiefs or the field? I think the smart money is always on taking the field. If you said to me, would you take the Chiefs over any other individual team? Yes. Yes. How could you not? It's like those years for 20 years with New England, where you looked at them and just went, well, smart money is to bet the field. But my God, if you're taking one team, I mean, how could you're going to take Pittsburgh? You're going to take Indy? You're going to take Philly? Whoever? Like, you're taking them. They got Brady. They got Belichick. You've got all the experience. You got the rings on their fingers. Well, the Chiefs are that team now. The Chiefs have Andy, and they've got Patrick. And they've got all the rings on their fingers, and they got all the experience. And for those who say, well, experience, how much does it really matter? Go watch the AFC Championship game last year when the Ravens were busy abandoning their game plan in the middle of the first quarter and taking 5 personal fouls. It matters. It matters. It matters a lot. So, look, we're a month out from camp. There's a long way to go. Guys are going to go down with injuries. Hopefully not serious, but it's going to happen. There's ebbs and flows to the season. They're going to be playing great. They're going to be playing not so great. That's part of it. Do you catch a team when they're unhealthy? Do you catch a team when they're playing great and they're rolling and everything's good? All that stuff factors in. It all factors in. And kind of just wait and see how it shakes out. But they are a team that over the last 6 years is a juggernaut and has been. And even last year when they were far from a juggernaut offensively, they still found a way to win. They're impressive. And they're a team that right now, it's pretty hard to say that they can't get it done. even if the odds are against it. All right. I'll take some questions. It's that time of year. Let's do it. Let's party. See, Lorenz asking, I hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm sorry if I didn't. Can a team apply the 50-year option on multiple players in an offseason? For example, McDuffie and Karlaftis. Yes. So every player who's drafted in the first round has a 50-year option built into their contract. So for those two guys, they're entering their third year. You make a decision on whether or not to exercise the 50-year option after their third season. Barring something catastrophic, the Chiefs will exercise the 50-year option on both of those players. So yes, those guys are essentially on 5-year deals. I would be floored if that's not the case, barring some kind of horrible injury. All right, Jack's asking to the Kingdom, what is the second best team in the AFC West? I think it's the Chargers. I mean, look, and I'm not high in the chart. I'm not one of these people pumping the hype train. I'm just I think Denver might be the worst team in football. I see Jesus says Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos. I'm with him. That's how I see it. I mean, I think Denver's like a 3-win team. I think Denver's bad, man. The Raiders, they don't have a quarterback. They defensively, they're better with Wilkins, but I don't think they're good. I think they're like a 6-win team. Maybe they win 7. The Chargers, I think, are right at 500, like 8, something like that. And I think the Chiefs are obviously well ahead of the pack. I think that's a fair assessment. Future's asking, is there a real competitive rivalry in the NFL right now? Yeah, I mean, there are good rivalries. Look, I get your point. The historic rivalries maybe aren't great right now, like Dallas and Washington and the Chiefs and the Raiders. But yeah, I mean, the Chiefs-Bills is a great rivalry right now. The Bills haven't beaten them when it matters, but they've beaten them. I think you'd have to say Baltimore and Pittsburgh still a really good rivalry, even though Pittsburgh's maybe not championship caliber at the moment. The Eagles and the Cowboys is a really good one. Yeah, I think we're going to see them emerge in the NFC North. I think you're going to get, Lions, Packers, Bears. I think that those are going to be good again. Niners, Rams. You don't think of that one because it's not like a heated rivalry, but that's a long-standing West Coast rivalry. Yeah, those are the ones that jump to mind. Yeah, those are the ones. I mean, Kansas City, Cincinnati. But yeah, they're more newer rivalries for the most part, other than Dallas and Philly and San Fran and LA. Jeremy says, we talk about the three-peat. How impressive of a feat is it to lose 4 straight Super Bowls? It's tough to do. I'll tell you what, though, on a serious note, that team deserves, in my opinion, an ungodly amount of respect, man. Like, to go to 4 straight Super Bowls, and I get it. Hey, they didn't win. Okay? They didn't win. They're never going to be called champions, nor do they deserve to be. But that, to me, if you ask me which is the greater accomplishment, winning 1 Super Bowl or getting a 4, I think it's getting a 4. That's insane. And granted, the AFC was a dumpster fire at the time. That's still ridiculous. It's still ridiculous. All right. Sean asks, what do you think our wide receiver room will look like? Well, look, Sean, I'm gonna include Rashee Rice here in the mix. Okay. I mean, I think Brown and Rashee Rice are your 1A, 1B, and then I think Worthy's going to be the third guy. And then after that, it's going to be Hardman and Watson, 4-5. And it's going to be either, Remigio or Ross or Tony or Moore as the 6th guy. My guess is it's Skymore. So I think it checks. Nate asks, Rob Miller. Thank you for another super chat, man. Far too kind. David Bakhtiari said he wants to play with the Super Bowl MVP. Look, David Bakhtiari, when healthy, is an amazing football player, a star left tackle. The problem for David Bakhtiari is he's never healthy anymore. He played 1 game last year. He played 1 game in 2021. He played in 11 games in 2022. But he just hasn't been the same guy since he blew his knee out at the end of the 2020 season. And it's tragic. It's unfortunate. I mean, he was on a Hall of Fame trajectory. 5 straight All-Pro teams, 3 Pro Bowl. I mean, he was a freak of nature in Green Bay. But at this point now, look, he turns 33 in September. It almost would be like when they brought in Kelechi Osemele. Remember that? for the 2020 season, and like he was unbelievable for 4 games, and then his career ended. Blew out like both knees, if I remember right, in the same play. That was it. I think it's a tough sell at this point. Jesus, what player will Chiefs miss more, Gay or Snead? Snead, you could argue, was the best corner in football last year. Now, they have McDuffie, so they can mitigate it to a large degree with that. And then they have Watson and Williams. We'll see what Kamal Haddon does. But, yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to say Snead. Gay is a very good player, but Chenal, I think, can fill that role. I think they're going to miss Snead a hell of a lot more. Nate's asking if I think McKinnon will come back. I don't. I think at this point that might be the end of the line. Like they've got some younger guys in the practice squad, some undrafted free agents. They've got CEH backing up Pacheco. I think they kind of leave that alone at this point. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think they leave it alone. Okay, Alan. Is there a chance KC lets Bolton walk and promotes Tranquil, or Chenal then fills in from the draft free agents? It's possible. I'd be surprised. Steve Spagnuolo loves him, like constantly raves about him. And I know how high the Chiefs are internally on Nick Bolton, like the front office is on Nick Bolton. I would be surprised if they let him walk. Now, of course, listen, there's always a price. I mean, if they get to a point, like if it starts climbing over $15 million a year, then I don't think they pay him. But I think the Chiefs should give him a healthy contract. But look, there's an argument to be made, and I wouldn't hate that argument. Hey, Tranquil's the Mike. Chenal, keep him on the outside. Draft another guy. You could. You definitely could. Trevor's asking, with the Chiefs being so good at finding and developing DB talent, would you ever pay that position? Because I wouldn't. I'd rather pay D-line and O-line. What are the thoughts? Listen, I am always a big believer when you start by having the quarterback, first and foremost, but then the lines, right? You build out the lines. I think, for the most part, I wouldn't pay a lot of the DBs because they can coach them up. Like, I probably wouldn't pay Watson when the time comes, and Williams when the time comes. I would pay McDuffie. That kid might end up being like a Hall of Famer. I would pay him. There are certain guys that are just exceptions to the rule. I would pay him. But I generally agree with you. Like, I think paying Trey Smith is more important than paying Justin Reed. I think that paying Creed Humphrey is more important than paying both of those other outside corners I just mentioned. I think paying Carl Loftus, if it comes down to him or Brian Cook, I think you pay Carl Loftus. But McDuffie is the one exception because he is truly a phenomenal player. I don't think you can let him walk out the door. That I don't think. Okay. Let's see. Thomas Cole says Bengals beat the Chiefs 3 out of 4 games with Joey B. How's that not a better rivalry than Chiefs-Bills? Because the Chiefs and the Bills have more history. The Chiefs and the Bills have had all-time classic games. I mean, look, the Bengals-Chiefs playoff games, the AFC title games, were both very competitive games. I don't know that you'd say they were great, like in terms of how well they were played. There was a lot of turnovers, stuff like that. That 13 seconds game is one of the greatest games of all time. And last year's playoff game, well, not one of the greatest games of all time, was a phenomenal game. I think if you ask a Chiefs fan, you might say, hey, the Bengals are the bigger rivalry because they've gotten the Chiefs a few times when the Bills have not in big moments. But I think history will look back and say that Chiefs-Bills stretch was ridiculous, largely highlighting one of the greatest games that you'll ever see. So that would be my 2 cents. Ronald, hey Matt, roster today, barring bad injuries, key players, you bullish on their chances to 3-peat? Yeah, I mean, Ronald, I led with it. I think, look, it's possible. I think the roster is better than it was a year ago in totality. I don't think it's like unbelievably better, but it doesn't have to be unbelievably better. They just won 2 straight Super Bowls. If they're healthy, I think they'll win the Super Bowl. But I say that acknowledging the fact that it's really hard. And I think there's, look, here, so let's play it this way. Okay. Do I think they're the best team in the NFL? I do. I don't think that's a crazy take. I think it's a pretty standard take. However, how many teams can, like, if you said to me right now, look, injuries aside, turn off the sliders on Madden, Which teams in the NFL, AFC or NFC, can win the Super Bowl? Chiefs, Texans, Bengals. I'm not a big Ravens guy, but I'll toss them in there. I think you have to give them their due. Buffalo. I don't think Miami or the Jets are doing it. So those are 5 teams in the AFC. In the NFC, the Niners, the Lions, the Eagles. You want to toss them in there? The Packers. I mean, I think it's like 8 teams. That's a quarter of the league. That's, listen, you got to be healthier than those teams, get more breaks, play better. It's hard. It's really hard. That's where I would put it though. Jack asks, how many years does 34-year-old Kelsey play? I think he plays 2 more. I think he plays out his contract. Could he play longer than that? Sure, maybe. If he's trying to eclipse Tony Gonzalez's record or something, maybe. But I think 2. I think 2 is probably the right way to look at it. Future says, why are there so many people thinking Trey Smith is the odd man out? I say he's the second best lineman after Tooney. He throws people around like no other. Because guards have gone through the roof in terms of money. Like they might have to pay him close to $20 million a year. Whereas Humphrey, they're not going to have to pay him that because it's just not the center market. I think Humphrey's the better player, quite frankly, but I do think Trey Smith is excellent. I would not be surprised if they pay him both. And then they make up for that by Tooney not coming back after, this current contract's up. I can see that. I can definitely see that. Jeremy's saying, with talks of Dak and Tua reshaping the quarterback market, when will teams wise enough and quit paying quarterbacks clearly can't win a Super Bowl? I think it might be now. Because I don't think Dallas is paying Dak. And if they are, then they're really, really, really misplaying this entire situation. The Dolphins, I think they'll pay Tua. But I don't know. I wouldn't pay Tua. I mean, based on what we've seen, why? You can pay a guy $55 to $60 million to do what? To win every game he plays above 70 degrees? Because I got to be honest. Look, and I don't mean to take a shot at the guy, but just the truth. What does he look like when Tyreek's not there in 2 years? Then what? I feel like that's not going to end well. That's just my 2 cents. I don't love it. By the way, before we go any further, I'll get to everybody's questions. DraftKings is offering a no sweat bet sign up bonus for new users. New users who sign up with code Arrowhead and deposit at least $5 will receive a no sweat bet up to $1,500 bonus on their first wager. This means if you place a first bet of $50 and you lose, you will receive a $50 credit in bonus bets straight to your account up to $1,500. You'll also receive 1 single game parlay reward every day. Using our code Arrowhead not only gets you these bonuses, but it also directly supports our podcast. If you've been considering signing up for DraftKings, make sure to use the code Arrowhead to maximize your first bet. This offer is only available to new customers who are 21 and up and physically present in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for the full terms of the offer to see if you qualify. Okay. Had to be done. All right. Let me keep scrolling here. Try not to miss anybody. Sean asks, do you think Kelsey will have a real shot at 1,000 receiving yards this year? Yeah, I think he will. I mean, he would have had it last year. I think until he really starts to peter out, I'll always say yes to that question, just based on what he's done. Cody, will Mahomes ask for a raise after Trevor Lawrence's contract? No, he just got paid again. No, I think Mahomes will probably renegotiate in like 3-4 years. I don't see that changing. I mean, we are where we are with Mahomes' deal. I think it's kind of been accepted at this point that that contract's going to be reworked 3 to 4 times. I think that's probably where we're at. Probably every handful of years. I think that's to be expected. All right, let's get back to a question. I'm sure I'm not missing anything here. Angry Drunken German. What's going on? Man says 4 straight, 4-peat. Why have moist time to 3-peat? I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Loren, I'll be honest with you, man. I have no idea who will replace Mitch Holthus. That I couldn't tell you. That I have no idea. could be a wide variety. I just genuinely good question. I just have no clue. I won't even venture a guess. Sorry, I have to answer somebody who needs answering that. All right. Nate says, do you think the Chiefs might add a D end or DT, someone like Agba, Yannick Ngakoue, etc.? No, I don't. I think they're pretty stacked at D line. I mean, if you think about it, let's say they keep 9 guys, okay? Because that's about standard. Well, on the edges, you've got Amenahu, Karlaftis, Dana, FAU. Inside, you've got Jones, Noddy, Pinnell, Wharton. That's 8. All those guys are going to play to some extent, if not quite a bit. You know, I don't think they're going to add another guy. I don't. I'd be surprised. Is there a position the Chiefs could stand to add some more depth to before camp? I think linebacker, man. I think quietly linebackers are kind of terrifying. Their top 3 are awesome. Not great after that. Like Jack Cochran's the 4th linebacker on the team. That is probably something that is not the worst idea to reinforce. C Beach, what is your take on the 2 new tight ends? Look, I don't know if Irv Smith's going to make the team. Wiley has gotten rave reviews. I think they'll try to use him in special packages, down the red zone, some different personnel groupings where they have like a certain play in mind. They feel like they can isolate him. But he's intriguing. Led the country in touchdowns for tight ends last year, so he is intriguing. Let's see. Sean, how is the new kickoff rule going to affect the league? I mean, look, I think it's it's going to be a game changer in the sense guys are going to be returning kicks again. Like I think you're going to have a lot of impact on, especially early in the year when teams are trying to figure out what the best course of action is. Justin Reed did a podcast with Chris Long on the Greenlight Room the other day. I thought he did a great job. Both of them did. And Justin Reed basically let the cat out of the bag. He's going to kick off for them. And he was talking about, used to be you want hang time. Now you don't want hang time. Now you want the ball down the ground as quick as possible because then guys can take off. It's very interesting. I think some teams will adjust very well and it'll really benefit them. And some teams, I think it's going to be a train wreck early. Future says, I'm sorry, actually, Jesus, what worries you the most on this team? Left tackle. Because if Wanya Morris can't do it and Suamataia can't do it, like they got a problem. And a big one. That would be Juwan Taylor was bad last year. But I think you can kind of deal with that. Mahomes can see it. He can't see behind him. That would be the thing that worries me the most. That would absolutely be the thing. I don't think there's a question. Future, who are you high on in the team and might fly under the radar for most fans? I don't think Jamar Connor qualifies because I think most people realize he's a good player. FAU. I think FAU is going to have a meaningful impact this season. The Chiefs were really high on him last year, even though he wasn't playing a lot. Like I think that kid, if you look at his underlying numbers, and granted, small sample size, when he was out there, he was effective. I think he's going to be a good player for them. Sure. I'm not saying I think he's going to be a star. I think he's going to be a good player. I think he's going to be a positive impact player for them. Okay, let's see. Jeremy, we always do the insert old Chiefs player into today's team game. Who's the current Chief, not Pat, who you'd put on any Chiefs team and why? Give me Butker on the 95 Chiefs. Oh, but Elliott. God. Okay, so not Pat. I don't know. Chris Jones on the 03 Chiefs. Feels like that would have made a difference. Although that defense stunk so bad, it might not even have mattered. Yeah, I feel like with Kelsey, I'll give you one. Kelsey on the 93 Chiefs with Montana. That team might have got to the Super Bowl if they had got Kelsey. That's my answer. Kelsey on the 93 Chiefs. All right. Thomas says, I remember when it was Orlando Brown isn't very good. They missed Orlando and KC. I got to be honest with you. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. They let him go and they immediately won their Super Bowl. Like, they might miss him based on what it looks like this year, but they also might get really good play out of one of those two kids, and then they don't miss him at all. So, I don't know. It's, I don't know. It's tough. That's a tough call. I would say he was an average off tackle. Not bad, not great. That would be my sense of it. Bill says, I feel good about our chances to three-peat. Should I as a Chiefs fan? Yeah, I mean, right? Look. One thing to keep in mind with this, they're not trying to win 3 titles right now. They're trying to win 1. Like, they're trying to do what they've done the last 2 years. Now, that's really, really hard. I'm not, like, minimizing that. But, like, again, if I were sitting here and I were telling you to bet on a team, and I'm not, by the way, don't bet money on my opinions, I would pick them. I mean, right, you're not going to pick them? Come on. I mean, like, what are we talking about here? You know, like, right now they deserve to be picked. They do. Jeff, should the Chiefs cut Bugs? Yeah, they should have cut him a month ago. They're apparently in no rush. Jesus says, rugby guy getting stashed in the foreign development list, right? Too many talented guys for him to make the team. You know, I'll tell you what, he might make the team as like the third running back and a returner. That kickoff rule might get that guy in the team. You know, I don't know that I bet on that happening, but it's very possible. Angry's asking, you got anything special planned for a three-peat night, Verd? Watching at a special place? Probably I'll be at the game for SI. So that would be, yeah, I mean, I'll probably be there. Last year's the first Super Bowl I hadn't gone to in a while, and it was just because of all the uncertainty going on at the moment. But yeah, I mean, I'd probably be there, probably be at the Superdome watching the game. So we shall see. All right. Let's see. Anything else? Can Bugs three-peat before getting cut, or is it dynasty? I don't think Bugs making the team. I'm going to go out on a real big limb. So that's not going to happen. But the fact he's still on the team is nothing short of just staggering. All right. Future's asking my opinion on the Brazil disaster. Future, you talking about like just that they're playing their week 1? I mean, obviously not Chiefs, Eagles, and Packers. Just clarify that for me. Just clarify it. Sean Bryan says 4 out of 5. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, if they go to the Super Bowl this year, it would be 5 Super Bowls in 6 years. And that is just not bad. Not bad. All right, take a few more. No, we'll get out of here. Give everybody the rest of their afternoon back. And of course, be back again next Thursday. But I see Future saying yes with the clothing rules. Look, you know what? I'm going to be very honest with the Future, and I mean this genuinely. I don't know enough about all that stuff. Like, I've not paid that close of attention to all the stuff going on around that Brazil game. The NFL is going to continue to try to expand globally. Some places will be better fits than others. Like, I think Germany's clearly a hit for him. I think England has shown it's a hit for him. We'll see how this goes in Brazil. First time going down there. But, you know, anytime you go somewhere for the first time, there are challenges. There are logistics. There's the unknown. That's always, you know, that's true in anything, certainly with sports. All right. That's it. That's it. Thomas, thanks for the kind words. I appreciate you. I'll be at Bengals camp. I'll be at Bengals camp this summer. So if you're out there, say hey. I'll be making my camp tour late July through early August. So I'll be around. I'll be in Kansas City. I'll be in St. Joe's. I can't wait. Can't wait to do it all. And by the way, if you enjoy my commentary and you want more of me, you can certainly follow my work at Sports Illustrated. You can follow me on Twitter at Matt Verderame, just my name. And you can follow me on my Patreon podcast, the Matt Verderame Show, which is Chiefs-centered. We talk about all things really AFC, but it's certainly focused on the Chiefs. It's got over 1,200 members. So over 1,200 people are putting up with me to this point and growing. Started the week before the Super Bowl. There's multiple tiers you can sign up at. Try to keep it as inexpensive as possible. So $5 tier, $10 tier. But and then next week, if you're part of that $10 tier, there's a happy hour where we'll sit down on Zoom for an hour and hang out and chat and talk ball. So feel free to sign up there. Patreon.com/Matt Verderame. Always appreciate all the support, whether it's on this show or anywhere else I am, including my podcast. All of you are the best. Appreciate you very, very much. And we'll be talking again soon. I'll be back on the show next Thursday. I'll have my show coming out, my podcast coming out tomorrow. And then again on Monday, a couple shows per week over on the Matt Verderame Show. I'll have the full mailbag for you tomorrow. But until then, enjoy the rest of your week, enjoy your weekend, and take care.